Live coverage of the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's finally here as the Jets continue to thrive as the kings of the offseason. With all these picks and all these trades, can the Jets improve enough to become a playoff team in year 2 of Glenn and Muji? Jake's here and is live breaking down all the picks the Jets are making. It's the Jake Asman Show.
All right, we are live from the NFL Draft inside Acrisure Stadium, a.k.a. Heinz Field, and the New York Jets have just drafted Texas Tech edge David Bailey with the number 2 overall pick. It felt like David Bailey was gaining a ton of steam over the last 2 weeks, and it really went into hyperdrive over the last couple of days where every NFL insider, any NFL person connected to the draft was saying the Jets are going to go Bailey. Then today, the betting odds, they started to move towards Arvell Reese, but it turns out it was David Bailey. Everyone who said David Bailey 2 weeks ago, a week ago, they were right. The Jets chose to take a player who last year in college football was arguably the best pass rusher in the sport. There are some concerns with David Bailey against the run. There are concerns with David Bailey, whether or not his full pass rush arsenal will translate to the next level. But no one can deny David Bailey is a heck of a football player. And if he didn't go to the Jets at number 2, there was a strong chance that he was going to the Cardinals at 3 or any other team picking in the top 10. Maybe not outside the top 5. Bailey, I think, is a really good player. My thing is this. If Bailey was selected because Aaron Glenn needs David Bailey to be good as a rookie and put up sack numbers to try and keep his job, this was a big mistake by the Jets, if that's the reasoning behind the pick. This is not about whether David Bailey is good. It's about the process that led us here. The fact that the Jets did not have a top 30 visit with David Bailey. You're about to invest $60 million, all guaranteed, at that number 2 slot. And you didn't bring the guy into your facility just to spend more time with him. He didn't even know Darren Muji's name when asked about him yesterday. Confused him for the Cardinals GM. It really is surprising. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a terrible pick. What are they doing? David Bailey's awful. He's not. He's really good. But is David Bailey being selected because he's going to be better at rushing the quarterback than Arvell Reese would be in year 1? Because if that's the reason, that's silly. If this is about trying to save Aaron Glenn's job, that's silly. Look, Bailey might be more NFL ready, but there's some concerns with him against the run. And you already have a player in Will McDonald who's had 18.5 sacks the last 2 years, but the Jets have 8 total wins. Where has that gotten them? So it can't just be about sack production. If you're a Jet fan who's happy with Bailey, you have yourself a player who you know what position he's going to play, what his role is right away. The question is, can the Jets get his run defense to be a lot better? Can they turn David Bailey into more of a 3-down player? That's the question. You know, the Jets have made a lot of additions to their defense this offseason. They got to pick any player in this draft that wasn't Fernando Mendoza, and they went with David Bailey, who had, 14.5 sacks in college football this past year? Again, the guy is an outstanding player. He led FBS in sacks, tackles for a loss, pressure percentage. He's a pure edge rusher. There's no guesswork. He's a twitchy athlete with excellent get-off. He ran the 40 and 4.5 speed at the combine, fastest by any player at 250-plus pounds. The knock on him is he's not great against the run. Can the Jets coach him up in that area? I'll say this. The same people saying Carl Dunbar is going to be able to teach Arvell Reese how to be a dominant pass rusher. Well, why can't Carl Dunbar help David Bailey be a much better run defender? And that's going to be the real question. Can the Jets coach him up in some of the areas of his game that aren't as strong? But the one thing he does is what you need to be a really good team, to get after the quarterback. You put him with Will McDonald, and you have the makings of 2 legitimate guys who could rush the QB. But can the Jets get to 3rd and long where these guys can really get after it? Can they have leads in games where you could really allow David Bailey to shine? Those are the questions that you have. But I'm not going to sit here and kill the pick. I want to see what the Jets end up doing in totality in this draft. They went with a safer pick. If the logic is they went with him because he's safe, that to me is bad logic. That's bad process. But ultimately, if they went with him because they think he's the best player in this draft, right? The best player not named Fernando Mendoza in this draft, okay. But that better be the reason why. It better not come out, oh, well, we just needed someone that we know is just solid. Like, we're not swinging for the home run. Well, that can't be your process. Take the best player. So that's my concern with this pick. I thought it was going to end up being Arvell Reese, especially when the betting market started to move. But everyone's saying, oh, there's no leaks in the Jets building. We could stop with that narrative. All right, they got out, they were taking Bailey, and guess what? They took Bailey. So I'm not going to kill the pick. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, what are they doing? Let's see how David Bailey performs as a rookie. He will obviously be compared to Arvell Reese and some of the other defensive players the Jets could have gotten. I would have loved for the Jets to trade out of that number 2 spot and potentially took a Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs if they were still going to go defense. But we'll see. I thought at pick number 3, we were going to see the Arvell Reese selection if the Jets didn't take him at 2. And Jeremiah Love is already off the board. So, ultimately, who knows? I'm not going to go crazy, but I will say this. David Bailey needs to be good right away because he's being marketed as a guy that's going to come in and instantly rush the passer. This is a guy that needs to have at least 8 or 9 sacks as a rookie. That's the expectation for him. And we'll see. He's going to have to be good against the run. But ultimately, while I preferred Arvell Reese, I said I would not kill the David Bailey pick. I like him as a prospect. I just don't want it to come out that they're taking David Bailey because, well, he was safer. And we got to get this one right. Hey, if your process is that, you've already lost. You need to have a good process to make good decisions. And again, I question why the Jets didn't bring him in for a top 30 visit and why David Bailey just sounded like he had no idea about anything going on with the Jets. I mean, his interviews yesterday were wild. Like, again, this is yesterday. This guy didn't sound like he knew what was going on with the Jets.
What have your interactions been like with the Jets?
It's been good, man. I've talked with Monty on the phone a couple of times. Obviously, they canceled my 30 visit, so I wasn't able to get around the facility and kind of have like an in-depth conversation with all the staff and everything. But I had a great interaction with them at the combine, and then obviously like whatever FaceTime calls we've been having. So,
if you were picked to be on the Jets, how do you think you fit in with that team?
I think I fit in great. I mean, I think it'd be a great scheme for me. I'd be open to learning whatever position that they need me to play. I think I'm going to bring a versatile skill set. So, I'm just open to anything.
Monty, get ready to learn Muji. Look, we will see. You got to give David Bailey a chance. I preferred Arvell Reese. I certainly prefer to trade down. That doesn't feel realistic. But we will see how this plays out. But ultimately, they got to get it right. Wow, Cardell Tate to the Titans. Our first major surprise of the draft. You can hear the media room behind me go crazy here. So, all right, Jet fans, Cardell Tate just selected. So here's what we know. Cardell Tate going means there's one less potential receiver available for the Jets at 16. It also means, forget the trade up to number 7 with the Commanders for Cardell Tate. Saleh getting a receiver at number 4. By the way, I know Connor Hughes had that report yesterday. Oh, Jordan Tyson's clearly the number 1 receiver in this class. Every team feels that way. That's not true. There is not a consensus on a lot of these prospects. And our first major surprise of the night, Cardell Tate from the Ohio State going to the Tennessee Titans at number 4. So we will see. The Jets are on the clock at 16. Would they trade up to try and get a wide receiver? I think that's the next question that you're looking at. But again, I wanted to keep this instant reaction video to be about David Bailey. Let me read some comments here, and then we will be back once again as soon as the New York Jets are on the clock. Let me say this. Tate going at 4 to the Tennessee Titans. You know what that means? It means the Giants could take Arvell Reese. And wouldn't that be fascinating if both the Jets and the Giants already linked because they play in the same city, if all of a sudden they're now linked to the same prospects that we were heavily debating all offseason. Reese, Bailey, Reese. Ultimately, we know that it's going to be David Bailey. James Mart checks in. Have a beer for Bailey. James will be in our weekly Asmaniac raffle on Monday for 4 entries with this $10 super chat. Thank you, James. Gotham Green Goblin says, Tanky V wins. Now we need the trade up to get Tate. Well, you sent this before the trade up. That's tough. Tate at 4. Look, I think he's the best receiver in the class. I've been steadfast in my belief in that, so I'm not shocked. But again, let's see what the Jets do. I think David Bailey has a chance to be a phenomenal pick. I just question the process that got us David Bailey in the first place, but I have a lot of faith in Darren Muji as the general manager of this team. So we will see what other moves are coming. Now, my faith in Muji, it's going to change if I don't like their draft, but I think he's been very good really since training camp, end of training camp last year. But let's see how the Jets perform. Again, they drafted David Bailey, 14.5 sacks, led the FBS in tackles for a loss, 20.2 pressure rate. You know what you're getting. Can the Jets coach him up against the run? That's the question. Can they coach up his deficiencies? The same people who believed in Carl Dunbar, you have to believe he could work some magic now with David Bailey. All right. I'm seeing some of the comments. Get Glenn out of the draft room now. He's here. He's definitely here, man. Will he be here beyond just this one upcoming season? If I had to bet, I would say probably not. All right. We'll be back right after the Jets make their pick at 16 or after they trade up. Like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. If you miss any of the show, reminder, it is always available in Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So check that one out. Again, thanks to everyone who's tuned into our coverage. We're live in Pittsburgh at the NFL Draft, and we're breaking down everything the New York Jets do in night one of the 2026 draft here in Pittsburgh. You guys are the best. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring our show. I will talk to you guys right after the Jets' next move. Let's go, Jets, and thanks for joining us right here on the Jake Asman Show.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane, and if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go, Jets!